Hello and welcome to Whiskey and Sports, another Rona edition. I am remotely here with Greg and Aaron. How are you fellas doing?
Sports and alcohol.
Greg has a sports and alcohol shirt on. It looks like Aaron may have frozen on the new computer.
We were just telling him how smoothly everything was running, and now he's frozen.
Well, I guess we'll go ahead and kick this thing off while Aaron is probably working on unfreezing himself. I'm not sure if he can hear us or not, but today is our favorite podcast of the year. It is our NFL Draft edition.
Yes.
So anytime we have a draft, I don't know, it's definitely your favorite.
How is this not your favorite?
I mean, it's one of my favorites too. It's good to talk about like what's coming up in the draft. And that was you texting Aaron.
Correct.
But it's a good time of the year. This is the beginning of me getting excited about football season.
Everybody loves the draft, man. It's a period, it's a time of hope, and like everybody is still a good player. Nobody is busted yet.
That is very true. And this one's going to be a very interesting year for the NFL draft, but we'll kind of get into that stuff a little bit later. We'll start out. What are you drinking today, buddy?
I am drinking Jim Beam Black today.
Nice.
Since I went top shelf last time.
Yeah.
Bottom shelf this time. I actually really like Jim Beam Black. I think it's good. It's only like $18, but for that price, it's hard to find a better whiskey. It's just solid bourbon. I put the giant ice ball in there this time because I do tend to like this one with a little ice, cool it up a little bit. As the ice melts, it kind of releases some other flavors as well of just, smoothing it out and releasing some of the bite that you would get with the regular Jim Beam anyway.
Right, and that's absolutely a thing. There are some. Maybe it's different for you, but for me, it seems to be more of my lower shelf whiskeys I enjoy ice with. More of my top shelf, I don't.
Right.
So,
in theory, the more expensive or top shelf whiskeys should be smoother.
In theory, we've had some that were not so much.
Yeah. But we're all about drinking whiskey however the hell you want to drink it on this podcast. And this is how I want to drink my Jim Beam Black, is with the giant ice ball in there.
Perfect.
Hope Aaron can get back to us. He dropped out.
Wrong side of the box there. I went with the Scotch route and went with the HP 12.
Oh, yeah.
Super shiny box there. I feel like Scotch makes me smarter. So
it's not true.
Probably not, but I feel like it does. And sometimes all you need is a little inspiration to go a long way.
Your limitless drug is Scotch.
Yeah, exactly. Opens my brain waves. So I think we're still working on trying to get Aaron back in here. Hopefully we can get that figured out. If not,
you know what I was watching while right before we started? I was watching the
handball
99 Super Bowl. I think Super Bowl 33, Denver Broncos, Atlanta Falcons.
That was a good one.
Yeah, Broncos were up 10-3, I think, when I left. But seeing some of those players, man, brings me back. It was such a good time. Like, Bill Romanowski was the meanest fucker on the planet. Like,
fact. 100% truth. You are not speaking fiction right now. He played angry and violent.
You know who else? Like,
it's fun to watch, though.
Rod Smith, really good receiver. Dude was fast as hell. Always open. Like, Rod Smith was good, man. You forget, like, some of these things as time goes by. You just forget, like, oh, man, he was so good. Or, like,
right.
Ed McCaffrey was ripped as hell for his size. Like he was a skinny dude, but also ripped somehow.
Yeah.
And like Jamal Anderson for the Falcons, like his legs are tree trunks, man. The guy was, I don't understand how anybody tackled him.
And, it's the same way with pretty much anybody that any of the older names that like you haven't seen play in 10 years. Like sometimes if you just go back and watch those games, you're like, this is why I know this guy's name. It may be players that, people today just they've never seen them play, but they, like I said, they've heard their name. Especially around Colorado, like everybody knows Steve Atwater's name. Or as a Bronco fan, you should know, growing up in Colorado, Denver area, you should know Steve Atwater's name. But if you go back and watch some of those older games, you see why his name is one of those that you remember. And like same thing.
Comes in like a missile on every play. It's incredible.
So, and obviously the same with big names like Shannon Sharp's on TV all the time, but there's a reason that he had the name to get onto some of those big networks.
Aaron Selkett is back.
Hey.
He must be connected to the audio. He's looking at us creepily. Setting up his phone, it looks like.
Can you hear us, buddy?
He's frozen again. Oh, no, he's good. You're good. But his phone's not on.
I see your lips moving, but I'm not hearing the words. Aaron, can you hear us, buddy? He's pointing at his ear.
He can see us, though. Should we sign at him?
Yes.
Turn your audio on, man.
It's almost just kind of fun just to watch Aaron with no audio.
So anyway.
Yeah. So once we can get Aaron in, we'll find out what he's drinking, but then we'll kick this pig and kind of go from there. He's connecting the audio now.
The whole format that we've got. Oh, he's on mute. You're in, but you're on mute, Aaron. So you're on mute, man. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some questions, right? Adam has come up with questions for both. Yay, he's back.
There he is. Yeah, so basically how this podcast will work will be I have come up with lists of questions for the two of you. Some of them are different questions. Some of them are the same question because I wanted to get both of your opinions on that particular topic. So,
be honest with me. Did you just give us both an entire list of the exact same questions?
No, it's like at least 50-50, if not better. So first, Aaron, what are you having to drink today, bud?
I got Russell's Reserve. It's the 2017. Pretty damn good. It's 55 proof, non-chill filtered. Damn good.
I like Russell's Reserve. It's been a long time since I've had it, probably a couple of years, but it's good.
Russell's Reserve is good shit. We had it on the podcast once, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, this is the single barrel. I had an unfortunate incident with the cork when I opened it, though. Snapped it right off. Yeah. So now
you have to drink. You have to drink it all today.
I'm gonna try not to. It's in my decanter, so I mean, if I am wasted by the end, we know I did try to drink the whole thing.
So you're drinking your decanter whiskey right now. You were forced into putting it into the decanter. I'm actually drinking my decanter whiskey as well. It's Jim Beam Black.
Ooh.
I'm not drinking decanter, but I have the Highland Park 12 going. Scotch.
All right, let's get into it, shall we?
Let's do this. Who would like the first question?
I do. Me.
Greg gets the first question. We'll start out easy. What position will be the most drafted in the first round?
All right, Adam. I think a lot of people think I'm probably going to say something like wide receiver because there's a ton of good wide receivers in this draft. I don't think that wide receiver is going to get quite the run that I think everybody else thinks it's going to get early on. Just because the class is so deep, I think there'll be a lot of teams who are thinking about waiting. I'm going to go with offensive tackle. Look, it's possible that 6 or 7 offensive tackles are drafted in the first round this year. I think, maybe only 4 quarterbacks. Or there shouldn't even be that many, in my opinion. Maybe 4, maybe up to 5 or 6 wide receivers in the first round. But I would say 4 or 5 is a safer bet for wide receivers. It's reasonable, I guess, that 7 wide receivers could be taken in the first. But I'm going to go with offensive tackle. First, you have Mekhi Becton, who, we know he got a ding on his drug thing for the combine, but I don't think teams really give a shit about that anymore, specifically after the Laramie Tunsil thing a couple of years ago. But it's just a ding. It's legal in half the states. It's not really a big deal. As long as he doesn't test positive again in like the next 6 months, he's fine, and he's just like every other player. But he's, we'll probably talk about him later. There's Tristan Wirfs, Jedrick Wills. We'll talk about them later as well. Both of those guys are amazing. Andrew Thomas, Austin Jackson, Joshua Jones, Ezra Cleveland. I've even heard some other names thrown around in there for first-round offensive tackles, but that's 7 right there. They all could and probably should go in the first round. So really interesting. And that's, I think, for wide receivers too. You could see Judy, Lamb, Ruggs, Brandon Ayuk, Jefferson, Mims, and Higgins all go in the first round. You could see a couple other guys slide in there, but I'm going to go with offensive tackle. We'll see the most players taken in the first round.
You know what? I'm almost right there with you. It seems like offensive tackle is one of those positions that people want to go sexy. They want to go wide receiver. They want to go running back or quarterback. But the most popular non-sexy pick in the first round is the offensive tackle. But they're so needed that you have to.
I think we could see 3 offensive tackles taken in the top 10 or top 11. So, I don't know if we're going to get a chance to let me rant about the Broncos at all, but I think it's possible the Broncos could trade up to try and grab one of those guys.
I have
one of the top wide receivers.
That we will make that happen today. We will talk about the Broncos, and I will let Aaron talk about how terrible the Vikings are. So, Aaron, you ready for your first question there, bud?
I'm trying to get logged into a computer where I can actually view my documents, but sure, fire away. I can probably wing it.
Okay. Again, we're going to start off light on the questions for this first one. Will there be more offensive players or defensive players drafted in this first round?
So I think there's going to be more defensive players drafted. More of the higher quality, easier to project players are on the defensive side of the ball. It's not going to be a wide margin by how many more are selected because I think probably defensive line and defensive end are also extremely deep, along with cornerback. So I can see a lot of those going in the first. I'm with Greg. I don't think there's going to be a lot of wide receivers taken in the first. I'm projecting maybe 3, top end 4. And then a couple quarterbacks, maybe a couple running backs, and then a ton of offensive line players. I think there actually a couple on the interior might get drafted in the first when normally they would go in the second because they actually are really high quality players. So like I said, I'm thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of 17 defensive players, 15 offensive players.
And I think it's interesting to think too, if somebody's listening to this or whatever and saying, hey, that's not what the mock drafts are telling me. The mock drafts tell me there's going to be, 7 wide receivers in the first round or whatever. Because of the nature of this draft and the whole COVID universe that we're in right now, teams haven't gotten the chance to talk to guys or, and face-to-face, I guess.
Yeah.
Or, as Gettleman would say, get a feel or smell of them, in person. But because of that, teams might be less likely to take big risks. But also there are a lot of scouts and word on the street and stuff out there that are saying this draft might not go the way that all the mock drafts are saying everybody is gonna draft. Like this one could be way different than a lot of the mock drafts. It's just the word out there. And I also want to point out that none of us have any inside information on anything. I mean, we're not sports.
Greg, do you have any contacts with teams
like that? So we're just saying what we would do or what we think would happen. But all that said, it would be super interesting looking at all the mock drafts that are out there if only 3 or 4 wide receivers are drafted, because none of them are saying that few, right?
No. And that's kind of what my thought is, just because it is so deep. I see it as possible that that's just delays onto either the end or into the second round for a lot of these players, because a lot of them are really, really talented and will be impact players right away for their teams. But if you can get another player who isn't at a deep position and you can get them at your early draft spot, I mean, that's by far the better pick and better value.
Like why draft T. Higgins at number 21 when you could draft a defensive end there, or somebody like Yetur Gross-Matos there, and then get a really good wide receiver in the second round who's maybe T. Higgins minus 0.03 on his 40-yard time or something like that. So you can get an Ayuk later instead of grabbing T. Higgins right away or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's wide receivers incredibly deep. I wouldn't be shocked if there's, 11 taken before the end of the second round. But I mean, they're gonna once they start going, they are gonna go quick. And I mean, Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, Denzel Mims, maybe T. Higgins. I mean, those are the 3 that are probably going to go. 3 or 4.
So Aaron, you said you thought maybe 3 in the first round, but you think 11 by the end of the second.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you could see 3 in the top 20 because Jeudy and Lamb are going to go early, but I think Ruggs will also go early.
Yep, I forgot about Ruggs.
I think the guys who are borderline first and second at this point are going to be Jefferson, Mims, and Ayuk.
I like Jefferson, but I like some of the other ones a little better.
Yeah, and I mean that's totally reasonable too. I just have some, I think there's a group of like 10 receivers who you could put all in the same group, and they all fall after those top 3. So
yep.
Like you're talking about guys like a Chenault and.
Yeah. And I have one in particular that I'm going to talk about later, so I don't want to spoil that.
Okay. Well, I think we can move on to this next question here. Greg, is there a specific player other than a quarterback who stands out far and above the rest?
Yeah, and I mean the obvious answer is Chase Young from Ohio State. The dude weighs 265 pounds, and he runs like a track star shot out of a cannon. He had 16 and a half sacks in only 11 games last season. Only played 11 games because of a suspension, which he actually handled pretty well and was extremely professional about. But he was so dominant that even Clemson had to change their entire game plan midway through that playing game just for him. And they started throwing quick screens and running read options and all that kind of stuff. He's like the perfect combination of Von Miller with that bendability and quickness off the ball. Like the way that he bends his body while he's rushing around the edge is it's so Von Miller-esque. It's beautiful. His hand skills are amazing. And then also Khalil Mack with his athleticism, his strength, that tenacity. Like he's mean in that same way that Khalil Mack is, and he's powerful in that same way. But he's as big as Myles Garrett. Like he just has all of these things. Like he's the complete package. I'm massively impressed with just his balance and the way that he uses his hands to get around the tackle. He's got this hand swipe thing down to a science. And then bend to really shorten his distance to the quarterback. It's like he's studied pass rushing from all the really great pass rushers that are in the league now, and he's put that all into his game. He's as much of a can't miss prospect as could possibly exist in the NFL draft. I think he's going to be incredible. If there's one possible knock on him, and this is minimal. It's that he hasn't been coached well enough to recognize when to use different pass rush moves. He's so athletic and so good at the moves that he does have that he forgets, to read the offensive tackle sometimes and try different moves. And he'll learn that stuff in the NFL when he goes up against really good offensive tackles in the NFL. He'll learn that he can't just do the same thing over and over again and beat the guy in front of him. He'll have to, use some of the other moves that he has. He just has never had to use them. I mean, if he had used more different pass rush moves over the course of this last college season, I think he could have had like 25 sacks instead of 16 and a half. It's just he got so it was one of those things like just keep doing it until they stop you. And he just kept beating his guy with the same moves. So he just wouldn't stop using that move. And sometimes, it just wasn't the right thing for him to do in the circumstance, depending on the angle of the offensive lineman's shoulders or his feet position or something like that. But he'll learn those things in the NFL. But again, his hand swipe and his speed are so good. And just the way that he bends around the corner is so impressive. Watch video of the guy if you can. It's fun to watch. He's just a dangerous player.
So let me follow. Go ahead, Aaron.
So what I was going to say is, I'm with Greg. He is by far and away one of the best players in this draft, and he uses his speed to his advantage because he beats offensive linemen around the outside so often that they start cheating, and then he just cuts inside, and it's a straight line to the quarterback. So the only thing I would say is my downfall on him is his lack of effort when the ball is going away from him. He's not one who's going to chase down a ball carrier who's on the other side of the field. He hasn't shown that effort, at least on all the tape I watch. And if he can do that. I mean, it's not something that he can't do. I just don't know if somebody's told him, hey, you should probably go try and get that running back when he's running down the side of the field because you're fast enough to catch it. But
and
I
that's
don't
a
know.
coachable skill.
Yeah, it's something you can coach into him, but I don't know if anybody's ever told him that. So, I mean, that's the only thing I pulled off of a bunch of tape. But overall, I mean, he sets things up so well. And like Greg said, that rip move to get the wrist control and break those hands that are on him off, so good, so dangerous.
He looks like Von Miller when he does the hand swipe and the bend.
Yeah,
he looks like Khalil Mack when he power rushes somebody, and it's like, look, I'm not a professional talent evaluator or anything like that, but in the time that I've been looking at tape for college edge rushers and stuff, he's the best one I've ever seen.
So, Greg, let me follow this up with one quick question for you, because I always like to tie things back to the Broncos. If whatever position, whatever team is going to draft Chase Young,
Washington,
the Broncos have the opportunity to trade Von Miller for that pick.
number 2 overall.
Do you make it?
I mean, if I'm the Broncos, yes. But if I'm the Redskins, I would tell the Broncos to go fuck themselves.
Okay.
I'm
talking Von Miller pre-coronavirus.
Adam, if I had the winning numbers to the lottery, would I play them? Yeah, I sure would. But guess what? I don't. So it's like, why are we imagining a dream scenario in which Washington trades the number 2 overall pick? Because it's just never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Like, I could get struck by lightning, attacked by a polar bear, and win the lottery on the same day. And it's still more likely that would happen than the Washington Redskins trade this pick.
Probably true.
Probably true.
I mean, it would take a lot for the Broncos to get to number 2 to get Chase Young. I don't even know if they gave up Von Miller 15 and additional picks on top of that if they would get that deal done. I don't even think it could work because Chase Young is coming in on a team-friendly contract. What's Von Miller's, like $17 or $18 million?
Yeah, probably something in that ballpark. Aaron, who is the second quarterback drafted this year?
Tua.
And what team takes him?
Whatever team trades the Lions for the pick number 3.
Me and Aaron are going to argue about this.
You can argue with me all you want, but Tua is by far the best quarterback in this draft, and without the hip injury.
But there is a hip injury.
There is a hip injury, but before the hip injury, it wasn't close. So,
I'm
but
going to wait to argue.
If a team, the team that's going to draft him is probably the Dolphins, because they have the picks to move up if they want to, but I don't know if they have to. If the Lions somehow convince them that they are going to take Tua, then maybe they will trade and kind of do what the 49ers did a few years ago to the Bears, but I don't think that's going to happen.
This segues to my next question perfectly. This whole situation, everything you've just talked about. So I'll save it all. I can't argue with you yet. So make your case for Tua right now, because I'm gonna blow it up.
Okay. I mean, he's 6 foot 200. He's not exactly the biggest quarterback ever, but he is supremely accurate and has touch, throws every pass you want him to. He's got enough arm to get to all the points of the field. I mean, I can't say enough things about him. He reads defenses already at an NFL level. He pulls off the first, second, and third receiver most of the time. He affects defenses with his eyes better than any other quarterback in the draft. So I could keep going, but I don't have to. I mean, he is by far the most NFL ready quarterback if his hip is ready to go. If his hip is still a problem, then I mean it's definitely Joe Burrow's. But
even Burrow's coming off probably the best.
There's no S on the end of that word. It's just Joe
Burrow. I do the same thing with Carol Baskins. I put an S on it. I think everybody does.
That bitch, you can pronounce her name however you want.
Right, that bitch. But with Joe Burrow coming off probably the most impressive college season for any quarterback in history, you're still going to say that Tua's better.
He did it once.
Yeah.
I mean, and he had by far the best wide receiver core in college football.
Did he make them the best receiving core in college football? Or were they just automatically good and they made him better?
I think it was a little of both. I mean, he's really good. There's nothing against Joe Burrow. I mean, he's really good, but it's a wide receiver. The three wide receivers they had are really good. What's the sophomore? Chase? That kid is unfucking believable. Next year, he's going real high next year if he keeps this up. He was crushing people this last year. And then,
I want to hear this right first, though. You're dinging Joe Burrow because of his receiver core and how good.
No, I'm not dinging him at all. I'm just saying that's why he had such a good season, is because he had players around him to help him.
Okay, because I'm going to come back to that when I talk about Tua.
I mean, I think Tua had a really good wide receiver core too, but I think
the best one in the history of college football. But sure.
Joe Burrow's was. Joe Burrow.
No. The one in Alabama. Tua's. There's 4 guys there that will all go in the first round.
Judy, Ruggs.
That
Who's the third one?
Devontae Smith guy, and then whoever their 4th wide receiver is like faster than Ruggs.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
Go watch the tape. The dude's incredible.
So, Aaron, I want to also ask you a follow-up on this. You just told me who you think the second is, and I think we can all agree it's probably the top 3. You're going to have Burrow, you're going to have Tua, you're going to have Herbert. Who is the 4th quarterback drafted?
Doesn't matter.
I hope it's Herbert.
Do you like Love better than Herbert? Oh, gross. Jordan Love is so bad.
I don't think either of them are good.
I'm going to tell you why Herbert's good. So
you also had a thing for Mitch Trubisky when he came out. So
no, facts. I'm not the greatest quarterback evaluator of all time, but hopefully I get it right.
So you wouldn't take anybody like a Jalen Hurts or a Jake Fromm or?
Well,
I do like Jalen Hurts.
4th round or something, yeah.
Yeah, but Jalen Hurts is into third, maybe a fourth round.
Okay. So I think we're going to go ahead and move up to Greg because he wants to tie this in with Aaron's last question. Greg, which team is the first to move up in the draft? And follow that with, why do they make the move? Who do they get? And how does that pick help them?
Okay. So the Chargers are going to be the team that moves up. They're going to move up from 6 to 3, and they're going to take Justin Herbert. This makes the most sense to me. Up until this week, I would have said that they should take Tua. Aaron, I don't hate Tua. I think Tua is a great player. He was excellent in college. I just have way too many concerns with Tua, and I'm going to talk about him here in a minute. But even despite the health concerns, the Chargers should probably take Herbert here. Back to Detroit really quickly, who has that number 3 pick. They know that there are 4 rock star defensive players in this draft. We have Chase Young, Jeff Okudah, Derek Brown from Auburn, and then Isaiah Simmons. All those guys are rock stars. You can take any of those guys and feel happy. Well, if you're sitting at number 3 and you know that numbers 5 and 6, that's Miami and the Chargers, both want quarterbacks, you know you're going to get one of these players no matter what. So you can trade back to 6, knowing that Miami and the Chargers are both going to take that quarterback. That means Chase Young goes to Washington, like we said. The Giants are probably going to take somebody like Okudah or Simmons. I would say probably they should take Simmons there, but, it's for another time. The Chargers, on the other hand, they want to draft ahead of Miami so that they can get the quarterback they want. If you're the Chargers, you want to make sure that you get to pick between Tua or Herbert before Miami gets to make that choice, right? I don't feel like Jordan Love is even close to in this conversation at all. The problem here is that nobody's certain about Tua's health, right? So apparently NFL teams are also really high on Herbert. But let's talk about Herbert for a second. He's 6'6", 235. For some reason, that's a desirable size for an NFL quarterback. I don't know why their height makes that much of a difference when you look at guys like Russell Wilson and Drew Brees. But the guy does have a really nice arm. He makes some really smart and really accurate throws as well sometimes. But he also makes some really dumb and wayward throws. I don't think that Justin Herbert is like the next Dan Marino. I'm not saying that. I don't think that Justin Herbert is going to be as good as Hall of Fame quarterback Drew Lock, for instance. But what I do think is that, if he can work on his consistency issues, which is not there yet, he moves really well in the pocket. His footwork is really good. He's got that thing that some quarterbacks in the NFL have, guys like Tom Brady and guys and for fuck's sake, I'm not comparing him to Tom Brady, but he's got that thing where he slides to the side in the pocket and steps up to make it more comfortable for himself. Instead of pulling the ball down and trying to get out of the pocket, which is what Tua will do, Herbert knows exactly how to slide and step. And he can do it both ways to where he's got a more comfortable pocket around him and then make a really, quality NFL throw. And he can do that stuff. So, look, he got away with some stuff at Oregon, some really risky passes, I think, that would be picked off in the NFL. But also, he's going to have a different offense in the NFL where he's not going to have to make some of those throws. A lot of his throws are going to be simpler. At Oregon, he was asked to make a lot of long downfield throws, probably because they have speed there and he's got this huge arm and, it's a symptom of their offense. In the NFL, particularly if he goes to the Chargers, he's going to be throwing a lot of possession-style passes to guys like Keenan Allen if he goes to the Chargers, right? And because he's got that good footwork and his pocket presence is so good, I think he could be successful there. He also throws really well on the run if he does have to leave the pocket. In fact, I think some of his best throws were on the run in a lot of the tape that I watched. So I understand why some NFL scouts like him. There's just some inconsistency there. And if they can meet that out, he could be a serviceable NFL quarterback. There's no reason he couldn't be as good as Matt Stafford or somebody like that. If he can be coached out of some of these tendencies. He made some really accurate quality throws in college.
He made some really bad throws though too.
No, I agree. And that's the inconsistency part. For Tua, I just think that the health stuff is a major concern for me. It's not just his hip. I think he got hurt a lot. He had a wrist injury, he had an ankle injury. The guy doesn't know how to fall, and he's just fragile when massive guys are tackling him. And in the NFL, those are the only guys that will tackle him are massive guys. There are no small guys in the NFL. So like that's a concern for me, is that he doesn't fall right. He doesn't stay healthy at all. But I'm going to punish him just a little bit for playing for Alabama. Look, he played with the greatest college receiving corps in the history of college football. And it just blows my mind every time I watch the tape how good the receivers are that he has. They're mind-bendingly good. And 2 of them are going to go in the first round this year. I think 2 of them will probably go in the first round next year. That's how good they are. I think Tua tends to hang on to the ball a little too long. In the NFL, that shit's just not going to work. This is another reason why he gets hurt so often. He scrambles too much. Whenever the pocket broke down, instead of doing that slide and step thing to just create a nice, new, neat pocket, he does like those Russell Wilson spin moves and tries to run off to one side or to the other. And believe it or not, Tua's not that fast. So like he struggled to get away from some of those. He didn't throw the ball as well on the run as I thought Herbert did. But what he did do is throw the ball, like he would spin out of one move and then throw the ball as deep as he could. But because he's thrown the ball to 4 of the best wide receivers I've ever seen in my life, they're wide open. These guys are way faster than the competition they were playing against.
But why do I always think of Arn Sherbert every time I hear his name?
Herbert, yeah. I want to call him A-Bear because I'm from Louisiana. So, but I didn't get a sense that Tua had any desire to like drop back 3 to 5 steps, then shuffle, then make a solid pass over the middle on a basic dig in 3.5 seconds.
Isn't that how the NFL is played now, though?
That's exactly how the NFL is played. I didn't get the sense that Tua wanted to do any of that. Instead,
no, the NFL is wanting their quarterbacks to move out of the pocket and do play action.
According to who? That's not how Kyle Shanahan plays.
More play action.
That's the only team that plays like that is Seattle, because they have Russell Wilson or like Lamar Jackson's team, right? And even then, they've tried to coach Lamar Jackson on staying in the pocket, but instead,
you can.
Tua spins and scrambles for 6 seconds and then unleashes a bomb to one of the fastest guys I've ever seen. So he's a winner. He's an athlete. I'm just not sold on his NFL pedigree because he gets hurt too much. I liked Tua in college. I think he's a good player. And for God's sake, the guy kept himself in some like really tough games and came out on top in a lot of them. I think he's really good. I'm not taking that risk. If I'm the GM, I'm not risking my top draft pick in this draft on a guy that is made out of paper mache. I can't do it. So, I think LA here goes and takes Herbert because they want to get him ahead of Miami. Then Miami is left wondering if they should draft Tua or Love or if they should just go defense. This gives LA, the Chargers, some time. Herbert doesn't have to play right away if they draft him. I know he's being drafted super high up in this draft, but they could let him, sit behind Tyrod Taylor for a little while, let them solidify that offensive line and get some weapons. But it's either way, taking a quarterback here is a flashy headline for the LA market. So
I think that is the ideal situation for the Dolphins. I mean, if they want to let the Chargers burn all their draft capital to move up 2 spots, I would let them to take Herbert. Go ahead, because if they're just going to stay at 5 and still get the quarterback they wanted, that's perfect for them.
I'm not sold that Miami wants Tua.
I mean, I think they do, but I think the Chargers for some reason want Herbert, and I can't figure out why, because all I saw was, like you said, somebody that makes insane throws one play, and then the very next play he's throwing 10 feet over his wide open receiver, or throwing it in the dirt 5 feet in front of him. I mean, and I think that goes back to his inconsistent footwork. You thought his footwork was good. I thought it was all over the place.
I think it's good. I thought he had really good hand movements and stuff too while he's sitting in the pocket. The guy looks like an NFL quarterback to me. And again, I got Mitch Trubisky way wrong. I am the first one to admit that. But and look, until this week, I didn't think Herbert was a great prospect. I still don't think he's like great. I mean, he's not. I don't think Herbert's a Hall of Fame quarterback or anything like that. But if I need a quarterback this year and I'm not getting Joe Burrow, I think Herbert's probably the best one out of the group of the rest of the guys, only because I can't trust that Tua is going to be healthy for more than one game in the NFL, because the first time he gets hit, his leg's going to snap in half or whatever it is. The guy's he's fragile.
I think Jalen Hurts is probably as good or better than Herbert. I mean, he's more consistent. He's not great. I don't think he's awesome by any means. The biggest upside of anybody is Love, though, because he's had really
that guy sucks.
I don't think he's great, but he can run, he can throw. He can do everything you need him to. He just is so raw at the position.
He threw 17 picks last year. I think Herbert threw like 7.
But the year before, he was so good; it was unbelievable. And so it's back to being inconsistent. If you're going to get an inconsistent player, why would you get one that can actually move around and run?
Tua is basically Aaron Rodgers and Tim Tebow had a child. It's Tua. Aaron, your question. Which team is the first to move down in the draft? Why did they make that move? Who could they have had that could have helped them before they moved back?
I still think it's the Lions. I think the Lions moved back, and I think they get the player that they were going to get all along in Jeff Okudah.
You don't think they need Simmons instead?
No, I think they need a cornerback after
Darius
Slay. Yeah.
Okay.
It's almost too good of a fit for him, because they're swapping out Slay for somebody who could be just as good as him on a cheaper team-friendly deal, and then they have their cornerback set with him and Desmond Trufant.
It's almost like if Detroit doesn't move down, they've totally fucked this up.
Yeah. They could easily just move down a couple spots, get exactly who they wanted, and add an extra pick or two.
But here's the thing, though. If it makes such a perfect scenario for them to move down, why would Miami want to move up to take that pick from them? There's no reason for them to.
Wrong. I'm gonna answer that question for you later.
And I don't think they talked Miami into it, because Miami's got so many picks that they could go any which direction they want to and still fill all their needs. I think it's the Chargers that are the ones that are going to get baited into moving up, and that's who's going to try to take a quarterback at 3.
I agree with you, Aaron. I think the Chargers are most likely to move up, but it's between Miami and the Chargers, who both need a quarterback, as to who's going to move up and take that number 3 spot, because they want to take the quarterback before the other team. They both know that they each want a quarterback. I think there's some other teams that could be in that mix that want to trade up for that spot, but I don't think any of them will have the appropriate draft capital to be able to do that outside of Miami and the Chargers.
Yep, I agree.
And all is right with the world. Greg, you've already kind of touched on this a little bit with one of your earlier answers, but give me your top 2 offensive line players of this draft.
So my number 1 is Mekhi Becton from Louisville. The guy, he's a physical specimen, particularly amongst the offensive linemen in this draft. He's 6.
Is he handsome?
Probably. I don't know.
That's important.
Adam, I think you would like it.
Thank you.
But he's 6'7", he's 365. But he ran a 5'1" 40-yard dash, which is just impressive. He's as dominant as
quick for a big fucker.
Yeah. He's as dominant as you can possibly be in the run game.
Isn't that what your 40 was, Greg?
My 40 was 5'17", I think.
Okay.
6, something like that.
Ain't bad.
Yeah. So I can barely move my 180 pounds that fast. I can't imagine doing it at 365.
I probably would have run like a 6'7" had I not had a sprained ankle the day you guys were doing
Yeah,
that.
but if we put a donut at the end, you would have run a 6 flat. So
donut and a glass of whiskey, I'd have quickened the pace.
Let me answer him question, Adam.
We could still go do this sometime.
All right. So
Greg, please continue.
Look, he's a mauler. He's like this year's version of who's that guy that plays for the Colts now that I can't remember his name all of a sudden because I've been drinking. The guard that came out.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Keep talking. I'll
It
look
wasn't
up.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ
No.
is the wrong answer.
I think he would be a
That
pretty
one
good
guy.
football player.
I think Jesus is more of a wide receiver than an offensive lineman. But look, in the pass game, Becton, he could use a little work on knowing where he's supposed to be and how to help create a pocket and stuff. I don't think he's had a lot of great coaching yet. He's only the tiniest bit raw, but it doesn't matter. His technique is good enough, but his athleticism is so superior that he just dominates people. I mean, he's throwing around guys who weigh 265 like rag dolls. These are large men, and it's unbelievable to watch. I admit, if you're choosing Becton above Wills or worse, it's a risky pick because of some of these deficiencies in his football knowledge and technique and stuff. But there's every indication that he can learn those things. He appears to be a good dude. If he does learn those things, he has a way higher upside than both of those guys. So I like Mekhi Becton. I would take him as the number one tackle just because of the upside. I don't think that his floor is any lower than any of these next two guys. So, but I would say my next guy, my number two guy, after you asked me to only pick two, and I think there's really three top guys, but if I'm only picking two, my next guy would be Jedrick Wills from Alabama. It's a tough call because Wirfs out of Iowa, man, he had the better combine of the two. But Wills is just like in the tape, he's a more polished and technical tackle, in my opinion. Wirfs had some really bad tendencies when it comes to blocking edge rushers, where he squares his shoulders off too early and he doesn't take the right step angles off the back of the line to try and combat some of the moves that he's going to see in the NFL. Wirfs could be more of a project in my mind and would require more coaching in order to be like a day one starter, whereas I think Wills is just ready to go in the NFL. He has excellent hand technique. He's excellent foot technique. He's been coached beautifully to counter like the myriad of edge rush moves that he's going to see in the pros. Those Alabama coaches know what they're doing. Because of the advantage that he has in coaching and techniques, that's the only reason I have to put him above Wills here or above Wirfs here. But I have to go with Wills from Alabama.
Okay. Just without having to go into explanation, can you give me like another couple of names to round out like your top end offensive line?
Yeah. Andrew Thomas from Georgia.
Yeah.
Like the next guy. That's a guy the Broncos might actually legitimately target, but I think he's really good too. He's big. He's got, good technique and stuff. He's just not in the class of these other guys. I think
Georgia has another one though too, that Isaiah Wilson.
Yeah, I don't know much about that guy, but I know like the other guys are like Austin Jackson, Joshua Jones, Ezra Cleveland. There's a handful of really good offensive tackles here. I think there's three that stand out, and I think that those three are Becton, Wills, and Wirfs.
Okay.
I'd agree.
Aaron, can you give me your top two defensive line?
It's Derek Brown and Javon Kinlaw. So Derek Brown is out of Auburn. He's 6'5", 326, and this dude is a full-on handful. He for a big guy, my internet's not working, so I can't look up his combine stuff. So, Greg, if you know it, fill it in. But he is surprisingly fast and takes on double teams and still bursts through to make sacks. Plays on the quarterback, plays on the running back.
Aaron, I got your numbers for you.
All right.
His 40 was a 5.16. He is 6'5", 326, by the way.
With that.
So a 5.16 40, a vertical of 27 inches, 20-yard shuffle, 479, broad jump 108 inches.
Derek Brown's a monster, and I totally agree with you, Aaron, on that.
Yeah, this dude is he is going to be a handful on Sundays. The only thing that I thought he could have done better is with his hand techniques, because when people get locked onto him, he does sometimes have trouble getting off. So like if somebody would teach him like to break the wrist or rip move or something like that, then he would move into the backfield much faster. But based on his athleticism and ability to, for a guy as big as he is, to get thin through a small hole in the line and just cut through to the backfield is unbelievable.
Aaron, do you have an NFL comparison for him?
I was trying to think of somebody when I was watching him, and I couldn't come up with anybody. Do you have one?
No, for a guy that's that quick and stuff. Maybe, I mean, he kind of reminds me of like when Ndamukong Suh came out of college. He was super dominant, or like Glenn Dorsey. When Glenn Dorsey was coming out of college, we thought he was going to be the next big thing, and he didn't turn into too much in the NFL. But he was dominant in college, and I think, there may be personality issues or something like that there. But he kind of reminds me of that.
Fletcher Cox, maybe?
Yeah, I think he's bigger than Fletcher Cox.
Yeah, well, I think he moves better than Fletcher Cox too. But I mean, Fletcher Cox has a ability to get into the backfield that I think is very surprising for his size. But I mean, his motor is unbelievable in Derek Brown. So
he may not have an NFL comparison. He's just that good.
Yeah, he's crazy good. And then Javon Kinlaw is so fast. His first two steps are defensive end fast, and he's playing from the inside most of the time. So he could easily be a 3-4 defensive end and just wreck shit all day.
Right.
So you said one guy has a hard time getting off, and then the other guy gets off fast.
Well, they both get off pretty quick. Javon
I think there's medicine for both of those.
Adam's making a sex joke.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on for the sake of time. Greg, you're the GM for any team you want other than the Broncos. What team do you select, and who do you select?
I'd be the GM of the Miami Dolphins. I think that's an easy choice. They have 3 first-round picks. They have 2 second-round picks. They have 14 picks overall in this draft. With all that draft capital, I could really do some wheeling and dealing. I could do whatever I needed to do. They pick at number 5, 18, and 26 in the first round. I would try and trade up with Detroit at 3 because I have 14 picks here, and that's only a 2-spot move. I don't think I'm going to have to give up that much to get Detroit off that 3 pick, but I know that if I can get Detroit off that 3 pick, I don't have to worry about what LA is going to pick there if they trade up and get it. Look, we can argue, and Aaron and I can argue about which quarterback is the better choice to pick there at 3 or whatever, but all I know is I don't want the Chargers making that decision for me. So I'm going to trade up with Detroit at 3. Look, Cincinnati's not budging off Burrow. Washington's not budging off Chase Young. So that's my only choice there. I'd offer like that number 5 pick and then one of my 3 like 5th round picks or something. Maybe a future 3rd rounder or something if I have to, but not this year, to try and move up and to number 3 and get the Chargers out of that spot. I don't want the Chargers taking that from me. So I'm going to have to outbid them probably. And because I have 14 picks, I can do that. There, I would draft Herbert. I'm going to hope and pray that I can coach the inconsistencies out of him and allow him to play a simple game, knowing that as Miami, I have Fitzmagic there. I don't need Herbert to come in and start the first game of the season. And I think Fitzpatrick is a good enough guy that he would help coach Herbert with me. He'd help teach him locker room stuff, all that. At 18, I would target one of the offensive tackles. So I'm looking at maybe if I can get Andrew Thomas to drop to me there. I think that would be a really good pick because I do need some offensive line help. At 26, I'm looking at cornerbacks. So I'm thinking maybe Christian Fulton from LSU. I'm thinking Trayvon Diggs from Alabama. One of those 2 guys I think would be a really good fit at number 26 at corner. And then in the 2nd round, I'm looking to target like a running back, maybe an interior offensive line guy. I'm thinking Lloyd Cushenberry from LSU if he falls. In the 2nd round, that running back, it could be somebody like Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin. That'd be a great pick there. After that, I'm kind of just filling in weak spots. I'm grabbing athletes. But I know that I have that massive draft capital to move up and grab anybody that I might really like. If at any point in the draft I feel like I need to move up a few spots to get somebody that I really like, I can do that.
I like it. I can't obviously disagree with you. They have the picks if they can move around wherever they can do whatever the fuck they want this draft.
Yeah. What does Miami do with Josh Rosen though?
Send him to a farm upstate.
I mean, do you trade him? Do you cut him? I mean, what do you do with Josh Rosen? You almost feel bad for the guy.
I'm on the Josh Rogan bandwagon. Rogan.
Talk about this, my doorbell.
His name, I don't even Rosen. Josh Rosen. I'm on the Josh Rosen bandwagon. So I'm all about, if I'm a GM of some other team that might need a backup quarterback or something like that, I'm all about trading him and get maybe a 7th or 6th rounder for him at this point because he probably doesn't have that much value, but I think he could still be a serviceable backup quarterback in the league. Look, a team like maybe the LA Rams could really use a guy like Josh Rosen to back up Goff, almost the same guy. That would be a great fit for Rosen as well because he went to college out there in LA. So Rosen's in a tough spot because we have more quarterbacks than available quarterback spots at this point. I mean, when guys like Andy Dalton and Cam Newton don't have a team yet, technically Andy Dalton has a team, but it's very likely that he could get traded, right?
Yeah. And I don't think he wants to be the backup
Winston
quarterback.
doesn't have a team right now. I mean, it's tough for Josh Rosen who has no proven pedigree at this point, which I think is totally out of bad luck. I mean, I think if Josh Rosen was given enough chance, he could be a serviceable quarterback. There's no way that Josh Rosen is worse than a guy like, Brian Hoyer, who's been backing up every fucking player in the history of the NFL. So, there's value there. They could probably get a 6th or 7th round pick for Josh Rosen at some point.
I think that's what they ended up giving up to the Cardinals to get him. But I mean, the team that keeps coming to mind for me is the Titans. I mean, they need a backup quarterback. He plays very similar to Tannehill. So, I mean, I think he would be a good fit there. At least that's my thought.
That's smart. And then if you're a Titans fan, you start to cry because your 2 quarterbacks are both former Miami Dolphins quarterbacks.
There you
go. But yeah, I agree with you on that. That actually makes sense.
Yeah. So I think Adam died. So should I just read my next question?
Adam's here. He's back.
Oh, is he back? Yeah, I can only see one person at a time. So
my doorbell rang. My very elderly neighbor was bringing me some farm fresh eggs from his daughter's farm out east.
Did you cough on him?
Yeah, definitely. Aaron, same question to you. If you're the GM, any team other than the Vikings, who's it going to be and who do you pick?
I'm going with the Raiders, and the Raiders have a couple first-round picks as well, and it's very nice for them in that their needs line up with the strengths of this draft very, very well. They need a cornerback and they need a wide receiver real bad. They need a lot of defensive help, but they have a just gaping hole at wide receiver. That was for you, Adam.
If I know anything about Mike Mayock, he's definitely drafting either Judy, Ruggs, or T. Higgins because he only drafts from college playoff teams.
Yep. I actually have him taking CeeDee Lamb, who is also in the playoffs.
Okay, fair point.
Yeah. So I have him taking CeeDee Lamb at 12.
But it also is the Raiders. So who had the fastest 40?
Al Davis is dead, man.
That's Ruggs, but yeah, that would be Ruggs. But I don't think Ruggs might be there. But CeeDee Lamb is a better fit for him right now because
I think CeeDee Lamb is the best wide receiver in the draft. I think he's the best.
Yeah,
CeeDee Lamb over all the other wide receivers.
I don't know which one's better because they both have high points. They're just different receivers.
Yeah.
And CeeDee Lamb, for him, he's not the quickest, he's not the fastest. I mean, he's not the best route runner, but his balance when he's carrying the ball is unbelievable. I saw him run across the field so many times that there are people trying to arm tackle him, and he'd just slow down and let him run past him, or he would put a little juke move on him and just go right around him. the dude is a yak machine. That's what he does. And that's kind of how the NFL is right now, is to get the ball to your wide receiver early and let them make a play. I mean, that's what the 49ers like to do with Deebo Samuel. I see him more as a DJ Moore. I mean, he looks a lot like DJ Moore on tape, if you ask me. Just
I think he's better.
I think he's better than DJ Moore, but I mean, you can't really say that without seeing him on an NFL field. But he looks so comfortable when he's running with the ball. It's so easy for him. He just anticipates everything with great vision and balance. He's almost like a running back.
I just want to jump in and talk about like top wide receiver real quick. Look, Judy is really good. I think he's the measurables guy. If you're just going on measurables, Judy is probably the pick here. But if you're going on like, if I have to make an NFL comparison, I think CeeDee Lamb is more like the DeAndre Hopkins or Michael Thomas type wide receiver, where he's this guy. He's not the fastest guy in the league, but for fuck's sake, he gets open all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. Catches everything. CeeDee Lamb is so good. But Judy is no slouch either. I mean, Jerry Jeudy is a really good wide receiver. He's faster. You know, he I don't know, probably never had to make a contested catch in his entire Alabama career because he's 2 steps beyond the quarterback that he was up against. But, like, you know, Jerry Jeudy knows how to run a route. I mean, he's a sharpened route runner. If it was up to me and I had to choose one of those guys to be my number 1 receiver off the board, I would choose CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I'm taking CeeDee Lamb at 12. I actually think Jerry Jeudy goes before him, and I wouldn't fault the team for taking him first because, I mean, I think he's a much better route runner and he's faster. He's, like you said, he's got all the measurables that you want in your top wide receiver. But I don't know, CeeDee Lamb is so fun to watch on tape. So fun to watch.
He really is.
Oh God, yeah. Just if you haven't had a chance, definitely go watch some Oklahoma games. He's so fun to watch. But then after that, I mean, at 19, take whatever cornerback is best cornerback available.
Possible C.J. Henderson is there.
Jeff Gladney.
What about? There was another guy, A.J. Terrell from Clemson.
Yeah, A.J. Terrell is pretty good. I like Jalen Johnson a lot. I mean, I was a big fan of his tape, but I mean, he didn't play like real top end competition at Utah, but I mean, he looked like really, really good. So, I mean, any of those could be a great player. I mean, Jeff Gladney out of TCU, dude is a huge competitor. He loves to fight with people on the field and get in their face and just lay a hit on them when they actually get the ball. I mean, this dude is angry. He's got the dog in him, and that's what I want in a cornerback. So
hell yeah, like a Aqib Talib or something.
Yep. And I didn't pick anybody for the second round. I didn't go that deep. I actually don't even know how many picks they have in the second round. I think it's just 1, and I think it's what would be.
I just had to because the Dolphins had so many picks. I had to like go into that realm just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it is unbelievable at how many picks the Dolphins have. What'd you say? 14?
14.
Yeah, unreal.
So Aaron, I think as the Raiders GM in your second round, you probably pick up a Jordan Love or maybe a Jake Fromm.
Maybe.
Why? The Raiders signed Mariota as their backup. Why does everybody think they're drafting a quarterback?
Because
if I was to pick a second round, I would go either somewhere on the offensive or defensive line. Probably something defensive because I think they were, 28th or something in defensive DVOA last year. They were not good. So, I mean, they definitely need some help there. So,
I'm with you, Aaron.
Whoever the best defensive player available is.
Okay. Greg, we can probably skip your next question. Which wide receiver drafted is going to have the greatest impact on year 1?
No. We're not skipping that question.
Did we not just talk about it?
Absolutely not.
Okay, tell me your answer.
Okay. Look, I don't know. which wide receiver is going to have the biggest impact, because it partly depends on where they land. Like if Jerry Jeudy goes to New York Jets or something like that, he's probably not going to have the greatest impact on all the teams, even though he might be one of the best wide receivers. But what I do know, I'm going to use this space to talk about Chase Claypool. I was all about A.J. Brown last year, and I was right about that. I'm good. Maybe I suck at the quarterback stuff, but I'm good at the wide receiver stuff, right? This guy, this year, Chase Claypool is my guy. He's 6'4". He's 238. He ran a 4.42 40 at the combine. The only other guy that size to do that is Megatron. He also had a 40.5-inch vertical and did 19 reps on bench. I mean, he's thick with 2 C's. Like, there's just some want him as a tight end. I think he can do all the things that wide receivers can do. I don't think he should be a tight end. I think he runs good routes. They're crisp. Like I watched his Senior Bowl tape. This guy, like, he does all the things at the right angles that you're supposed to do as a wide receiver. He has good hands. Get this, he blocks, which is amazing. But he scored 27 on the Wonderlic. This is another reason why I hate Tua, by the way, or I don't hate him, but like Tua got a 13 on the Wonderlic. As a quarterback, you need to do better than that. But
I didn't know that.
Chase Claypool got a 27 on the Wonderlic. The average at wide receiver all time is 19. So he's definitely mature enough. He's definitely smart enough to be able to learn what he needs to do. But I think, all the mock drafts and stuff have him going probably round 2 or 3. I think he's the steal of this draft. If he goes in round 2, that's still a steal. If I'm a GM who needs a wide receiver, I'm targeting him with the full force of my draft capital. I'm not talking like I would draft him in the top 10 or anything like that. But for fuck's sake, if he doesn't go in the first round, it's ridiculous if this guy doesn't go in the first round. I can't talk about how much I love him enough. I hope he proves me right. A guy this size with this kind of athleticism at wide receiver is an absolute asset. Like, he's the same height as DK Metcalf, but he's heavier, and he only ran about 0.09 seconds slower on his 40 than DK Metcalf did. We all think DK Metcalf is some kind of monster built in a lab at this point. The thing is, Claypool runs better routes than Metcalf did in college or does in the NFL, and he does a better job of creating separation off the ball. Metcalf is a straight line runner. Claypool does all of those things that wide receivers are supposed to do, and he gets open. I think once he learns to use his body even more, this guy's going to be a stud. He's going to be unstoppable. He suffered from a really bad quarterback at Notre Dame, like a really bad quarterback, and his offense was also pedestrian at best. That might be some of the reason why some people aren't projecting him as a first rounder, but like, go look at some tape on Chase Claypool. I've already convinced P. Yum Yum that Chase Claypool is the guy, and he went and investigated it himself. He can't stop talking about him all of a sudden. I'm telling you, this guy is the shit. If he's around in round 2 and my team doesn't draft him at that pick, I'm going to throw a fit. Like, I don't care if the Broncos draft Ruggs or if they draft Jeudy or Lamb or whatever. If they pass up on Claypool in the second round and he's there, I'm going to lose my shit.
Can you imagine him on the Ravens? Like, playing out of the slot?
I first saw this part.
I don't think he'll play out of the slot, but for God's sake, like, they could move Hollywood into the slot or something like that.
I think Hollywood normally plays out of the slot right now, but I mean, if they moved Hollywood outside and put him in the slot, and they have him running out of the slot, and then Andrews running out of tight end, I don't know.
Such a great fit, Aaron. I mean, that's a perfect choice. Imagine them taking him into the first round.
Yeah, like 28. I think that's where they pick.
Yeah, perfect.
I mean, I can't argue. I just.
You don't even know who Chase Claypool is, do you? You've never.
I know who he is. He can join the ranks of like Manti Te'o or whatever from the greats of Notre Dame.
Does he have a fake girlfriend we don't know about?
Right. No, I mean,
Adam, have you not heard of Tim Brown?
I have heard of Tim Brown and
Notre Dame alum.
Yeah, he's one of the few. There's him, Theismann was Notre Dame. Joe Montana.
Joe Montana. I mean, just a couple Hall of Famers there.
Just a couple Hall of Famers, but I mean the list drops off drastically after that.
Ricky Waters was awesome.
Harrison Smith.
Let's see.
Just going from the Vikings, Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, like Notre Dame is one of the most storied programs in college football history, Adam.
I mean, yeah, it is stories. I mean, like Rudy and all, but
No, storied, not full of stories.
I know.
Like they're one of the greatest programs in college football.
Will Fuller.
Like Rudy.
Yeah, Will Fuller is a legit player, man.
Golden
Number 1
Tate,
receiver on the Texans now.
Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith is a fucking baller, dude.
Right. I mean, there's some good players. I'm just saying, there are other programs that have had, they've got a bigger list. I don't know. I like
Recent years, but not overall, not all time, dude.
But while you guys were talking, I was actually watching a highlight video from Claypool. He's good. He knows, especially in the end zone, he knows how to get himself open and get himself on the ball, and doesn't let the defender like pull him off, and he's able to come down with the ball like quite frequently.
So he's got that high point capability. He's got great hands, but he runs really crisp routes, and I think people are overlooking that fact because he's so big. But like, for God's sake, I think this guy is the steal of the draft almost no matter where he's taken. I love Chase Claypool.
Yeah.
He's my guy. I'm betting my stake on him.
I would be fine with him being picked up by the Broncos in the beginning of the second round. I would be more than happy with that.
You guys would have Aaron wide receivers at that point.
Yeah, Aaron, you're a Denzel Mims guy. Like, how do you compare the two?
Well, you can't really compare them. They're two totally different players. I mean, Chase Claypool is so much bigger than Denzel Mims, but Denzel Mims is a more crisp route runner, and they both do things well, but they're just not the same. I mean, I like Mims a lot as far as how he catches the ball away from him. He doesn't let it like get into his body. I did see that a little bit with Claypool, but I mean, dude's still got good hands, and he's by far, they both love to block. So, but Claypool is much bigger, so he's able to take on like defensive ends and things like that and steal an end. So I mean, if they put him in a slot role, then all he has to do is crack down on a defensive end, and he steals that edge for his running back. So, or even I guess if we put him on the Ravens, then Lamar Jackson can just go around outside and dude's gone all day.
Well, and you can put him on the outside, just put him in motion and have him come back and crack back on the defense.
That would work too.
But like I like Mims. I think Mims might have the best hands of any of the wide receivers in this draft. But Claypool's my guy.
Yeah, I think Mims, like you said, better hands, probably best hands, but he's got this natural ability to track the ball while it's in flight and just high point everything. Contested catches all day. But, I mean, that could be because he played with a quarterback who's not very good. At least I didn't think he looked all that great. I couldn't even tell you what his name was, but he just it's almost like he was just flinging balls up to hopefully Denzel Mims would come down with the pass.
Yeah, the quarterback at Notre Dame sucked too. He was just
and like 3/4 of the time he would.
Yeah. I haven't squirreled all day, but I'm about to do that. I'm gonna. Nobody at home can see this, but I'm gonna point the camera down at my keyboard. This is what I've been looking at all day. I want you guys. Somebody start talking.
Why is your keyboard upside down?
Because my camera's
lights
upside
up, dude. Your keyboard lights up when we talk. That's amazing.
It's been distracting the shit out of me all day long.
So it changes color when we start talking?
Yeah, you don't see that? His keyboard, when we talk,
that's pretty damn cool.
His keyboard lights up.
That's nice.
It's been like I've been staring at it all day long. Every time you guys start talking.
I'll post this on YouTube, but if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that.
Yeah. So, Aaron, which running back drafted this year is going to have the greatest impact on his team in year one?
Very interested in this.
It's going to be Jonathan Thomas.
Taylor?
And what's that?
Jonathan
Home
Taylor?
Improvement?
Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
That's the kid from Home Improvement.
Yeah. Every time I say his name, I can't not think of Jonathan Taylor Thomas. It cracks me up. So I actually, on the Word document I made, I actually have a picture of Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
That's outstanding.
Yeah. So it's Jonathan Taylor. He's 5'11" and 226, but I mean he's by far the most NFL ready 3-down back. He had 6,000 yards and 55 touchdowns in 3 seasons at Wisconsin. I mean, they ran the ball a shit ton, so he had I think it was 300 plus carries every single year. So I mean he's been used a lot, so that could be a downfall for him. But when he went to the combine, he crushed everything at the combine. He had a 40, a 4.39, 17 bench press, 36-inch vert, 123-inch broad jump. I mean, dude is an athlete. So
he's got like track star speed, right?
Yeah, he was actually on the Wisconsin track team on the 4x100 relay. So I mean, he's got speed, and the only thing you can knock him for is how many times they used him in college, and then he did have a bit of a fumbling problem. He had 15 fumbles in the 3 years. So, but other than that, I mean, he's 2-time All-American, 2-time Doak Walker Award winner. So, I mean, why would you not think that he would be the best running back to come out?
Well, I mean, the only reason you would think he wouldn't be is because he didn't really catch passes out of the backfield. He hasn't proven that ability at all.
He did though. Not as many as like Swift or
Edwards-Helaire.
No, what is it? DK Dobbins or JK Dobbins?
JK Dobbins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dobbins is really good too. You know, look, sometimes when we think about running backs though, don't we have to assume that we don't know everything, because these guys who don't get drafted keep coming up and making impacts, like Austin Eckler or Philip Lindsay or somebody, or neither one of the starting running backs in the Super Bowl this past year were drafted, right? Like Mostert or Damian Williams. But then we look at guys like, I agree with you. I think if I was drafting running backs, I'd probably take Jonathan Taylor first. I think he's got a lot of potential. I think Cam Akers out of Florida State's another guy. But like, you look at a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he could have a huge impact on a team this year.
I like him.
He might run better routes than anybody else in college or coming out in the draft this year for a running back. He's a really good route runner. But he also, he reminds me of Maurice Jones-Drew when he runs the ball, like with the ball in his hands. I mean, he's just like a Mighty Mouse, and he's really good.
He looks like a little bowling ball when he's running around. But he's only 5'8", 5'9", maybe?
5'7".
He's 5'7", 207 pounds.
Yeah, he is not very big, but yeah, he is a little muscle ball.
His vertical is almost 40 inches.
Good God.
It's 39.5 on his vertical. Dude,
an inch less than Chase Claypool, I want to point out. All right.
More peanut in there, remember.
Right. Oh, sorry. Wrong one. Here we go. Greg.
What are you drinking now?
I'm on Four Roses small batch. Not single batch, but the small batch is good.
Either you went and bought the small batch select yet?
No, I haven't.
Colin told me it's out. I haven't actually went and found it, but he said it was like $85. So
I just switched myself to the Breckenridge High Proof.
Love Breck.
Nice. I'm on to Ezra 7.
Yeah.
Nice. Greg, Jacksonville has 2 first-round picks this year. What are their needs, and who do they pick?
So the Jags have picks 9 and 20. I think it makes the most sense for them to grab one of the big 3 offensive tackles at number 9. So, I mean, they probably won't be able to take their pick, but they'll get one of Becton, Wills, and Wirfs. That would be who I would take it at 9 there. whichever one is available. At 20, I think it'll be tough to, depending on who's available here, but they need help on defense pretty much everywhere. So I'd start at defensive line, then I'd go corner, then I'd go linebacker. So, maybe Javon Kinlaw drops that far. That would be fucking awesome. But you're looking at guys like Kenneth Murray, Clavon Chason, Murray from Oklahoma, Clavon Chason from LSU, AJ Epinesa from Iowa, Patrick Queen from LSU. Those would all be really good candidates there. I think CJ Henderson, if he's there, could be a choice. Maybe.
Greg, I need to stop you for a second.
Yeah.
You're not saying a name correctly, and it's starting to like eat my ear. You kept saying Chason. Chason.
Oh, fuck you.
All right. Fuck you. That's Louisiana. It's Chason. You should know this.
Okay. Well, everybody who I've ever heard say the word says Clavon Chason.
Well, the hillbilly swamp rat, whatever you want to call him, the coon ass that I was in the Marine Corps with, that grew up down in the swamps of South Louisiana. Coon ass is not a racist.
Does he know Clavon personally?
I don't know, but he has the same.
Fuck off.
He has the same last name, and his last name was Chason.
Okay, Clavon Chason.
There you go.
It's like a French dick, and I'll pronounce it like a normal person.
And just to throw it out there, Coonass, calling a Cajun a Coonass is not racist. Cajuns refer to themselves as Coonasses. That's just.
Well, Adam, it's impossible to call to say anything about a white person that's racist.
Fact.
Okay. Also, since you are Cajun yourself, you can legally use that term.
Correct. So anyway, I wasn't done.
Please continue.
If CJ Henderson is there, I think that would be a steal if you could get CJ Henderson at 20. People are talking about CJ Henderson as if he's just as good as Jeff Okudah. I really like CJ Henderson, like a lot. But I don't think that he's going to be there at 20. So we're looking at AJ Terrell, maybe Christian Fulton, Trayvon Diggs, if you want a corner. But, really, if I'm the Jags there, I'm looking at guys like Chason, AJ Epinesa, Patrick Queen, Kenneth Murray, those kind of guys. Or, maybe you're talking about a Yetur Gross-Matos kind of guy there. But either way, they need some defensive players there.
I'm actually surprised. Can we stop at Gross-Matos right now? Because I don't see first-round talent when I watch him. I don't get it. I don't understand why people are so high on him, because the dude looks like a project. He looks like somebody you should take in maybe the end of the second or the third, not the end of the first.
I actually agree with you, Aaron. I don't think – well, personally, I wouldn't take Yetur Gross-Matos in the first round. I think he's got a lot of athleticism and he's got a lot of potential, really high ceiling, but he also has a really low floor is the problem with that guy. So, I actually agree with you on that. I personally wouldn't take him, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him go between 20 and 24.
I mean, somebody I think is going to jump on the potential talent there, but you don't usually see somebody that's that big of a project go that high.
Edge rushers have huge value, man. It's
true. I mean, the Saints took that guy out of Texas. Oh yeah, that's what it was.
Texas El Paso, Marcus Davenport, but he's doing really well. He's a good player. They took him at 17 in that draft. I think they traded up to get him. But we talked about him before that draft, and we all liked him. I mean, the guy was like 6'7". He's huge.
But I think he is far more aggressive of a player, and Gross-Matos looks like he just kind of stands off a lot of plays and waits for people to come to him rather than attack.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, we heard from Greg about this a little bit earlier, but I wanted to know, since Miami has got 3 picks this year, who do you think Miami takes?
I think they pretty much go in the order that Greg said, but I think they take Tua and not Herbert at 5. 18, I have them taking Andrew Thomas. and then I think they make a little bit a small reach for the best interior offensive lineman prospect in the draft in Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan.
Okay. And, I think we kind of beat that around, when we first talked about it with Greg, but, for me with Herbert and Tua, it's kind of a toss up. They could go either way with it. And I mean, one, I really don't care because it's Miami. But since Greg's getting maybe taking a piss or getting some whiskey or whatever, let me follow you up. My follow-up question for you had been, or the next question had been, the Raiders had a couple picks. Give me names.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of went over that because they were your team earlier. So tell me this: who do the Broncos select in the first round this year?
Ooh, I think the Broncos probably need they definitely need a second wide receiver, but if I'm them, I'm not taking that wide receiver in the first round. I mean, there's better value to be had, and I think they could use a linebacker. And I don't know why you wouldn't take Patrick Queen.
You like Queen instead of Kenneth Murray?
I do. I like Queen's sideline to sideline speed. I like the way he attacks the middle of the field. I mean, he can be used as a rusher. I mean, the guy does pretty much everything. Ooh, Greg's getting some food. What you got, bud?
I got a burrito from somewhere. I don't know.
Nice. Yeah, I like Queen for the Broncos.
Okay, so we go Queen in the first round and then Claypool in the second round.
Hell yeah!
That would be the best draft the Broncos could do.
So Greg, now that you have a mouthful of food, did I already ask you about Jacksonville?
You did.
Yeah, San Fran, they have 2 picks as well. Who do you got for San Fran picking up?
So they have picks 13 and 31. At 13, I think it's reasonable that they'd reach for a wide receiver like Judy or Lamb, maybe even Ruggs, depending on how the draft is shaking out there. They could also go with someone on defense. I think it's possible that Brown slips somehow to this spot, and they could take him.
At 13?
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of teams that, like, need a quarterback or need a wide receiver or whatever. Maybe there are trades that happen. It's possible. I don't think it's likely that Brown slips there. I just think it's possible. That would be a dream scenario for San Francisco. But, you could also look at Javon Kinlaw right there at 13. At 31, your guess is as good as mine, but if Xavier McKinney made it there, the safety from Alabama, guy, they could also look at cornerback. I think Fulton could probably be there, or any number of late 1 to 2 linebackers, like round 1 or 2 linebackers, like Zach. I think it's Braun. That guy's really good. I think that would be a great pick for them as well. So we're looking, wide receiver, and we're looking defense for these first 2 picks.
Yep.
San Francisco's defense has been and is one of the most impressive defensive growths I've seen in quite some time.
They also did just trade their top defensive tackle though. So
yeah, that's why they could use a defensive tackle. I mean,
that's why they have pick number 13.
Kinlaw or yeah.
So now, kind of what we had talked about when we first started, I do have some questions that I would like to ask both of you.
Okay.
So these last 3 questions, well, I have a couple side questions over here that you guys haven't seen, but these last 3 are for both of you. Who do you think the biggest flop drafted in round 1 is for this year?
Aaron, go ahead.
You already know mine. It's Justin Herbert.
Mine's Jordan Love.
Yep. I don't think either of them, if they have to start early, is going to end up well.
So Greg, I have to ask you this question. Like, I see you have a mouthful of food, so it's the best time ever.
Just ignore me eating. I'll answer any question.
So you said Jordan Love is going to be the biggest flop drafted in round 1. Who drafts Jordan Love in round 1?
Green Bay.
Really? But then he's not expected to start.
No, but that doesn't mean he won't be a flop. Look, let me think. I haven't thought about Jordan Love a whole lot because I'm not a huge fan, but like the Raiders could draft Jordan Love. He could be a flop there.
Maybe.
Miami could draft him late in the round. He could be a flop there. Let's say Miami drafts Simmons at 5, and then grabs another player later at 18 or whatever, and then at 26 drafts Love. Flop. I don't like Jordan Love. I don't think he's a good quarterback, so he's my guy. And a lot of people are talking about him like he's the shit all of a sudden. I don't get it.
No, if you're asking him to start year 1, it's gonna end up real bad real quick.
Like, but, Aaron, you don't like Herbert because he made bad decisions sometimes and bad passes. Like, Jordan Love is the king of making bad decisions and bad passes.
And I agree, but I wouldn't take him in the first round. I mean, I don't think Love should go in the first round. I'm not even sure he should go in the second. But, I mean, because quarterback is such a high-profile position and people want to fill that need early, somebody's going to jump on it. And I
think Jordan Love is the next Paxton Lynch.
See, and that's where I would have put Herbert.
Fair.
Size, arm strength, unable to read defenses.
The difference is we've been on Herbert for a long time. Nobody was on Paxton Lynch until like the week before the draft. And then all of a sudden Paxton Lynch was like, a first round quarterback. And John Elway traded up to get him because he's an idiot. But like, Jordan Love is that guy this year. Like, nobody gave a shit about Jordan Love until like a couple weeks before the draft. And then all of a sudden, McShay gets on him. And then like all these people are like, Jordan Love's going to go super early. I don't think Jordan Love will be drafted in the first round, but if he is, he's the bust.
No, I don't think he should, but if he does, it could be bad.
If either of those players get drafted in the first round, then
Herbert for sure going in the first round. I will guarantee it.
You think Herbert goes first round no matter what?
Yeah.
Yes, Herbert goes first round.
I think he goes before pick 20. He might go in the top 10.
I think Herbert goes in the top 5, but that's me.
Okay, well, if I had to pick the first round, I would have to agree with Aaron that Herbert's the biggest flop. Because I don't think Love makes it to the first. I think he's a mid-second round pick, and he probably flops there too. But I don't see him getting picked up in the first.
Well, then you can assume that we'll both say Yetur Gross-Matos is the first round flop then.
Also, yes.
Uterus Vatos?
Yetur Gross-Matos.
Matos.
Is that like a SA vagina?
He's got a hyphenated last name.
Well played, Adam.
Which player drafted this year is going to have the most impactful career?
I think it's Isaiah Simmons.
Not year, career.
Yeah, I think it's Isaiah Simmons.
Why?
Isaiah Simmons, you can use all over the field. I mean, just this last year, he played linebacker, safety, defensive end, and cornerback, and was good at all of them. So, I mean,
Isaiah Simmons. But if I have to say who's going to have the most impactful career, I think it's going to be Joe Burrow. I mean, look, I know it's easy to take like the number 1 pick overall and the consensus number 1 pick, but I think Joe Burrow is the most like NFL ready quarterback I've seen in years. I know he only had 1 great year in college, but that's because he just wasn't given a chance. He wasn't given a chance at Ohio State, so he had to transfer. And when he played 1 year of average ball at LSU, I'm not going to lie. But then he started playing, he hadn't played actual football in an actual game for several years until that year. So he got back into the mix, and all of a sudden, the guy's just a really mature and smart quarterback. Number one, Joe Burrow is far and away the most accurate quarterback in this draft. Far and away. It's not even close. Go look at his accuracy numbers on short, middle, and long-range passes, and he blows everybody else out of the water. Everybody. It's not even close. Joe Burrow is an accurate quarterback. He doesn't have the great arm strength. I don't think it matters. The way he moves in the pocket is smart. He just seems to understand the game on a level that some of these other college quarterbacks coming out don't understand the game. I think Joe Burrow has a really high potential to be like a Hall of Famer. Like Joe Burrow could be a really, really good quarterback, like a great quarterback.
So you're putting him in the same class as Hall of Famer Drew Lock.
Oh, I mean, he's just under Hall of Famer Drew Lock. Like Hall of Famer Drew Lock, and then like Joe Burrow.
Okay.
Like Tom Brady right here.
Okay. I mean, as long as Tom Brady is down here, then we're on the same page.
Yeah.
So just a quick, I'm not going to have a ton of stats to back this up because I didn't look it up. But as far as like the most impactful guy that I can think of, I mean, dude, I have to give that to Chase Young. For all the reasons that you said earlier, like he's going to be a machine, and he's going to be a machine for a long, long time. When people think about some of the greatest players of all times, they think about quarterbacks and they think about pass rushers.
You think about guys like Reggie White. You think about guys, look, I agree with you, Adam. Like, there's a high possibility Chase Young could be that guy. You talk about guys like either one of the Bosa brothers, or you talk about Garrett coming out recently, and we, particularly the media, I guess, loves those guys.
Yeah.
They're good. Chase Young is better than all of those.
Your edge rushers they're the guys that help make the game exciting for your team when they're on defense. The edge rushers make that game exciting, and they're the names that you remember. You don't remember, half of your defensive line that's, they're on the center. You don't know that guy. You don't know, the big fat guys. Like, they have nicknames like Refrigerator or something you might remember, but you remember those guys that are constantly pressuring the quarterback and putting them on the ground. And Chase Young is going to be one of those guys in the future. I'm torn with Joe Burrow. He's probably one of the most accurate quarterbacks leading into the draft. Granted, it was a single year is what we're looking at. We're not looking at an entire college career for him, because he had a very storied college career with going from Ohio State to LSU and kind of how he became what he did. But if you look at this last year and what he's moving into, I mean, he was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in history coming out of last season. So, I don't have a doubt in my mind that he's going to be a great quarterback. Do I think he's going to stay with Cincinnati his entire career? Hell no. I think he's going to get out of Cincinnati. No, he's not. No. He is going to get out of Cincinnati probably after this first contract, because they're not smart enough to put the people around him that he needs to grow and to be better.
That's who?
Huh?
Cincinnati made the playoffs for years with Andy Dalton at quarterback.
I hope for Joe Burrow's sake that they don't draft him because he's from the area. I feel bad for him.
It's a perfect LeBron James situation. He's not necessarily from the area of Cincinnati, but he's from Ohio.
He's from Ohio. So he's just
Like-
going to have everybody around him. I mean, think of how much focus was on LeBron James all the time. And people are going to expect that same quality of play every single week, in and out, from somebody who, I mean,
So
might not be able to hold the team together.
so here's the thing.
I feel like it's a perfect situation for Joe Burrow.
So this is I'll tell you right now in a couple of words what's going to need to happen for Joe Burrow to be successful in Cincinnati. One, whatever they have to do after they draft him, whatever they have to do to get as many second and third or move back up into the first round if you have to. First, second, and third round picks you have to get as many wide receivers as you can get.
Offensive lineman. Are you crazy? He's already got AJ Green, John Ross, Joe Mixon.
They need Jefferson.
They don't need
No.
Jefferson. They need an offensive.
They don't need a receiver. They need line to protect him and keep him upright.
Yes,
Oh,
Aaron is correct.
Shut up. Aaron, give me your bold prediction for this year's draft.
They're at a minimum of 5 trades in the first round.
Ooh. What teams trade?
Ooh, I know I'm saying the Lions do for sure. I think the Broncos do. I think the Vikings do. The Browns. There's going to be one more team that I can't think of off the top of my head, though. But I think we're at
Jacksonville.
a minimum of 5. Ooh, Jacksonville might. I mean, even the Giants might trade back if somebody.
Anybody with 2 or more has the potential to move at least once.
There are a lot of teams that don't have 2 or more that could potentially move. But Aaron, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that. I just because of the virtual nature of the draft, I don't think we're gonna see as many trades as we would have normally.
Well, they've already said that they will delay the draft clock if somebody is working on a trade. So this could end up being the longest draft ever.
So we'll get into a little bit of that because I have a couple of questions for you that aren't written down. Greg, give me your bold prediction.
My bold prediction is Aaron wins a contest to have the Vikings war room at his house.
Yes.
Internet connection then crashes, followed by all of the computers for the Vikings exploding, and they will forfeit all of their picks.
No.
Therefore, the future of the Vikings will be destroyed, and it will all be Aaron's fault.
Have we not learned that my phone always works? It's just my computers all suck. I have 5 computers in the house and none of them fucking work, but I can use my phone all the time.
That's great.
Sorry, I had to dig at you there.
No, that's all right. After the way this started, it completely makes sense. I'm working on a brand new computer that I can't connect to the internet right now.
What's hilarious is I wrote that down 4 days ago. So it's not something I just made up right now.
Yep. Great. I don't know what the hell's going on.
All right, Adam, hit us with those randos, man.
So this year being a virtual draft, what is one change you would make to this year's draft?
What do you mean? Like what kind of change?
It could be anything, like, because we all know like how the draft plays out. Like, you know, there's in the past there's round 1, there's round 2, and then like
Okay.
3, 4, 6, 7. You know.
I got it.
You know.
I want to be able to see what's going on in the war rooms. I want the GM to have to make the pick himself on TV virtually or whatever. Like broadcast the Zoom of or whatever it is they're using, Microsoft something or other, I'm sure. But whatever, broadcast the image of the GM making the pick himself, so that when John Elway selects, douchebag number 1 at pick 15, then I get to say, like, I know for sure John Elway was involved in that pick. Or, like, I would love to see the insides of what's happening and all that, but they, literally can't do that for obvious reasons, I think. But
that would be actually kind of cool if that's how they did it this year. Is that and there's no way for this to actually work out to make it so none of the other 31 teams could see what one team is doing in their draft room and who they're looking at on their big boards and all that stuff. But I mean, that would be a really cool way to actually hold this draft, is let the people just see the process live in action, how it's playing out, like what the thought process of the GM is, like what they're talking about in those conversations, and like when the pick is coming up, how do they address it when they're 10 picks away? How do they address it when they're 5 picks away? How do they address it when they're 1 pick away? I mean, then they have an idea of who's going to actually be around, but I don't know how would you stop the other 31 teams from watching? Actually, how would you stop the Patriots from spying on everybody and stealing everybody's picks?
Good point. But like at least some like reaction shots of like when somebody takes Derek Brown at number 7 or something like that, watching the reaction shots of all the teams that are directly behind him would be amazing. Or like, watching some team that's at 30 be like, oh shit, and get really excited because now they think they can trade up to get him or something like that. Seeing the reaction shots of GMs at every pick, I think would be super fun too.
Yeah.
So for this year and only this year, because it is a virtual draft, what I would like to see, we are so starved for sports right now because there's nothing. Day 1, Saturday. Day 2, Sunday. Day 3, Monday. Day 4, Tuesday. Day 5.
Do you mean round instead of
round? Yeah.
Just do every round one day.
Cheers. Round 1, round 2.
Wait a minute, is that just naming days?
Yeah. So around the day.
Round 3
for 7 days.
Day 5.
Get rid of the whole like unsigned free agents. Make it 10 rounds this year. And just keep drafting people. Give everybody a pick a round for another 3 rounds.
That would be amazing.
Then we got 10 days of NFL draft we could watch. That's a whole, for everybody staying at home, not doing shit on their couch right now, that would be amazing.
Then I wouldn't have to watch replays of old Super Bowls.
Right. Exactly. How many times did they mention COVID-19 during the draft this year?
147.
Over under.
Do we have an over-under here, or are we just throwing numbers?
Over under.
Yeah, you give us a number and we'll tell you over and under.
27.
Over.
For opening day. I'm not talking the whole draft. Opening day.
Oh, just the first night?
Yeah. First night.
Over.
Yeah, I'm still over 26.
It was 27.
Or whatever. Same thing.
This is where I want to bring up my drinking game that I invented last night that I texted you all about. It was like, just watch TV, and every time that they remind you that you've been locked inside your house for the last month and want to get like a serious thing, where they say something like these unprecedented times or these challenging times or these tough times or whatever it is, that's when you take a drink and then tell me that you're not super hungover the next day. You can't avoid it anymore. I'm almost sick of it. Like, I understand we're in extremely challenging, unprecedented times right now. But like, to hear somebody just constantly remind me of that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again on every fucking commercial or every TV show that I see, like, I get it. Like, you don't have to remind me anymore. And plus, it's fucking celebrities who keep reminding us of that. So they have like a montage of celebrities telling us on a commercial break, what challenging and unprecedented times these are. Aaron, you have to drink now.
Oh, sorry. And then when they're
and then I remember, I'm like, oh, they're having these challenging and unprecedented times in their fucking mega mansion in Los Angeles, where they get to work out in their personal gym.
Yeah.
They get to swim in their swimming pool. They get to like play basketball on their basketball court. They have a fucking movie theater in their house. And like
bowling alley.
my like 1,700 square foot house with like, you know, enough room for a kitchen, you know, and like that's what our reality is as normal human beings. So super fun.
Yeah. Like they have full gyms. We're relegated to doing prison workouts with like push-ups and sit-ups.
Right. Yeah. I've done so many push-ups lately that like I'm tired of push-ups. I need something else to do, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. It's so many air squats. Just so many unbelievable how many air squats.
Adam, why are you filming us on your computer screen? How are you filming us on your computer screen? That's weird.
Well,
I can't see him, so I don't know what's happening.
I can't show you physically turn around the camera that I have in my hand.
That's literally what you just did.
I can't film the camera that's filming everything else. It's a little like a little camera that just sits on top of your computer.
Oh.
What
else you got for us, Adam?
A fun workout? What, I don't know what's going on here.
Huh?
What was the idea behind showing the camera to the screen?
Absolutely nothing. Well, Greg was like, "How are you showing this?" And I was like, "Well, I can't film the camera." So, those were the big questions I had. There was nothing earth-shattering in my follow-up questions. But I think we're all looking forward to watching the draft this year. It's the first kind of real sporting event since this whole coronavirus thing started. You know, I think with recent orders that have come down, you know, it looks like they might be slowly starting to open the economy in the United States again, which, in my opinion, for what that means, what that's going to mean for sports, golf is probably going to open up without fans. I think all sports are going to open up without fans, but it will be golf first. Then you're going to move into sports like baseball and kind of extend from there. And I think for at least several more months, we probably will not be able to attend games, but we'll be able to watch them on TV. And at least that will be something new, something current. And I think we're all going to be a lot happier when that time comes.
Did I read the NBA starting sometime in May?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I was going to say. If we could just at least do the NBA and NHL playoffs right now, like in May and June, like that would be fucking phenomenal. Can we just get that?
Just so there's something to distract people. I mean, have something live that people can actually get behind. Because, I mean, right now, with all of the trying times, Greg, are you just going to –
So I have to drink now, but I was flipping off Adam because he's showing us his belly.
Oh, sweet belly, Adam. Here, let me move to the tri-screen. Dude, did you get the quarantine 15 going or what?
Pretty much.
Attaboy. Yeah, I mean, with some kind of sporting event, just to let people let loose a little bit and have something to watch that's not a streaming service would be great.
I think we're all itching for it. We're all excited about it. We all can't wait for it to happen. You know, it will happen eventually. It's just kind of a waiting game at this point to see. They don't want to go into facts and stats about the corona because I'm not an expert.
Also,
but hey, we're still here for you, people, in those challenging and unprecedented and trying times. We're still here.
Whiskey and Sports is here for you. There is a German scientist, however, that says whiskey will help you stay away from the corona. So
We are all very safe right now.
yeah.
Do you see that the president of like some African country gave out Hennessy in all of his COVID relief packages?
No,
That it would,
that's awesome.
he said it would disinfect your throat. His throat disinfectant. He gave out Hennessy. I thought that was hilarious.
That's pretty
You
great.
know, he must have listened to that German doctor, and I believe him. So
I'm sure that's who he was listening to. Is his joke.
none of us. We all drink whiskey, and none of us have had Corona yet. So
I mean, that's how science works, right, Aaron?
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
that's what it
we're
is.
3 for 3. We're 100%.
I mean, that
Although I'm pretty sure I've already had.
we are doing clinical research right now.
No.
All right. Well, boys, I toast to you, Aaron. From what I hear from the experts, this is the team that this draft is most important for is the Minnesota Vikings.
I hope so.
So good luck. I fully anticipate the angry texts that you send about who they draft, and then us laughing at those. I fully anticipate that we will send angry texts about who the Broncos draft, and you laughing about that.
Yep. I mean, that's usually how it goes every year. It's usually pretty damn funny for us.
But I think that's all we got today, Adam.
Yep, that's it. Well, you guys stay classy out there in Coronaville, and we will see you next time on Whiskey and Sports.
Watch
Later, boys.